Chapter 7. How can you catch a tiger if you don't go into his lair? The word for tiger in Chinese is pronounced hu. The founders of Yahoo may not have thought of this when they chose the company name, but everyone in China thinks of Yahoo as a tiger. Jack Ma was particularly fond of this illusion when it came to bearding the Yahoo lion in his lair. In August 2005, Alibaba and Yahoo China set up a strategic cooperation valued at $1 billion that involved the transfer of all of Yahoo China's assets to Alibaba and the transfer of 40% of Alibaba's shares to Yahoo. In early February 2008, Microsoft put in a hostile takeover bid to buy the global Yahoo. The amount Microsoft offered was $44.6 billion. Google tried to delay or derail the deal since it would threaten Google's dominance of internet advertising. Two dragons were indeed competing for a sizable pearl. $40 billion is spent annually on online advertising, and this amount is expected to double in the next 2 years. How a Microsoft takeover of Yahoo would affect the business of Yahoo China and Alibaba is not known, but it would necessarily have ripple effects since Yahoo owns 39% of the Alibaba group. The offer was opposed by Yahoo founder Jerry Yang as well as other members of the board, and on July 25, 2008, Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer announced that Microsoft was no longer in negotiations with Yahoo, but left the door open for future talks. There will almost certainly be further talks, and they will have an impact on Alibaba. As noted, Yahoo was founded by Jerry Yang and David Filo in the United States in the mid-1990s. Jerry Yang had come to the States from Taiwan, and is known in China by his Chinese name, Yang Ziyuan. In January 1994, the two men created Jerry's Guide to the World Wide Web while studying electrical engineering at Stanford University in California. As graduate students, they were in a privileged position, and some of the initial $1 million funding for their venture came from the university itself. In April, the name of the How to Guide was changed to Yahoo, and the extraordinary story of this innovative company began. It had started as a way to link information sources that the two men most enjoyed. When the websites they collected became too numerous, they began to categorize them into types, and they set up a number of menus or contents for ease of use. Originally a system for their own use, the categorization turned out to be beneficial for others. Yahoo was listed on the NASDAQ exchange in 1996 and moved quickly into Japan, where it met with initial success. The dot-com crisis of 2000-2001 took the shares to an all-time low, but the company pulled out of the slump and continued to expand through strategic acquisitions. In March 2004, Yahoo launched its own search engine technology. In 2005, it celebrated its 10th anniversary, and on August 11 of that year, it completed a cross-ownership alliance with Alibaba, in China. By 2007, Yahoo's revenues worldwide exceeded $6.7 billion, and employees totaled over 11,400. Co-founder Jerry Yang replaced former CEO Terry Semel as head of the company in June 2007. However, Semel had been hired to help turn around the flagging company, but his stewardship was not enough to raise the stock. Earnings continued to decline when Jerry Yang retook the helm. Yahoo in China. Inside China, as the head of the combined local forces of Yahoo and Alibaba, Jack Ma was widely regarded not only as the head of Colossus, but as a courageous man for daring to hold on to a tiger. This tiger was known to be lean and hungry in China. It had spent 7 years learning the ropes in a very difficult environment. Although it was one of the earliest portals in the United States, Yahoo's experience in China began only in 1999. A man named John Pingy was president of the China entity at the time, and he recalls the times as exciting and challenging. Yahoo enjoyed a clear first-to-market advantage in China. The three large Chinese portals at the time, Sina, Sohu, and NetEase, had already burned through most of their money. Yahoo in China soon encountered funding problems. Not only was financial support from headquarters small, but the company was ordered to turn a profit as soon as possible. This was in line with Jerry Yang's philosophy. In the United States, the company became profitable within its first 10 months. In China, however, the model was hard to duplicate, and the company began to struggle. Yahoo was not suited to the local conditions, and because of that, it found itself in awkward circumstances. Its name recognition was much lower than that of the three main portals, and Yahoo's search engine functions could not compete either with the locally developed Baidu or with Google. In the instant messaging market, it lost out to QQ and MSN. In the online auction market, it found itself outmaneuvered by eBay's child in China, EachNet. By early 2001, Zhang Pingyi had left the company disillusioned. For the next several years, a succession of professional managers were brought in from outside China to try to turn the company around. Low morale set in. The decision-making process back at headquarters was too slow, and it was generally acknowledged that Yahoo in China was not working out. At the end of 2003, Jerry Yang found a person inside China who understood search engines and who was eager to test himself at Yahoo. This was a man named Zhou Hongwei, who had been leading his own team in China, known as 3721. Zhou brought his entire team at 3721 over to Yahoo China. Although he only led the company for the next 2 years, he was able to achieve some success. Frustrated that market share did not rise, Zhou posed a key question to Jerry Yang. Do you want to grow the company, or do you need to see immediate profit? After thinking it over for 6 months, Yang decided that the primary goal should be growth, not profit. Unfortunately, the decision came too late for some. Zhou left the company. 10 senior engineers jumped over to Baidu and other search engine companies, and a number of other employees left over the next 5 months. By the time Alibaba began expressing an interest in strategic cooperation, morale inside Yahoo China was at an all-time low. Jerry Yang's enthusiasm for the China market never wavered. He had put tremendous investment into the effort, including the early hiring of IT industry managers, the huge amount paid for 3721, and the cost of localization, however inadequate that was. Nothing had allowed the company to live up to its reputation for being a real tiger. In the end, Yang adopted the strategy of total localization. He decided to transfer assets to Alibaba, at the same time preserving the Yahoo brand. He allowed Alibaba complete operating control in developing Yahoo China. A Chinese proverb relates how to catch a monkey. You put something very sweet in a cage and let the monkey put his hand through the bars to try to get it. Once the monkey has the sweetness in its grasp, it tries to pull the prize out, but finds that its clenched fist can't squeeze back through the bars. The monkey has caught himself. Its own fist prevents it from being free. The only way the monkey can save itself is by letting go, opening its hand, and releasing what is holding it back. Jerry Yang was intelligent enough to open his hand, thereby saving himself. He released Yahoo in China, entrusting Jack Ma to keep the tiger and to make sure it lived. The cause of Yahoo China's 7-year itch, its malaise for that long stretch of time, was, in general, indecision. According to previous managers, the company couldn't make up its mind. It vacillated between this and that, both worried about getting and worried about losing. These unfortunate years allowed Jerry Yang to reconsider the future direction of the company and to countenance the idea of its developing under a new identity. It is said that Jerry Yang and Jack Ma came together for a golf meeting in the United States to discuss possibilities on May 1st, 2005. Then, on August 6th, Baidu listed on the market, and a whole series of actions by Google raised the ante. This sparked both men into action. Jerry Yang telephoned Ma and suggested price. Ma came back with a proposal, $1 billion for 40% of shares, but only 35% of voting rights. The deal was quickly made and announced to the public on August 11th. I like to look forward, Jerry Yang commented as the deal became known in the news. No matter whether his decisions about the market or the company, Yahoo hasn't made any major mistakes. Yang feels that starting a company is akin to a spur of adrenaline, whereas running a company and growing a company is a marathon. His goal was to create a long-standing company, and his investment in China was strategic. His plan for China had never changed. He sent an email message to all Yahoo China employees that said, "This morning we have announced the formation of strategic cooperation with Alibaba. This is an exciting moment for Yahoo people, and I hope that you will recognize the enormous opportunity ahead and become a member of the successful team." Who bought whom? When the long-rumored merger or strategic cooperation between the two companies received public confirmation, the ongoing question of who had bought whom did not receive much clarification. Alibaba acquired all of Yahoo China's assets and at the same time received $1 billion from Yahoo in investment in order to create China's most powerful internet search platform. Alibaba and Yahoo made simultaneous announcements in China, the United States, and Japan. This was the largest merger to date in the history of China's internet. Jack Ma joked that Alibaba and Yahoo had sweet-talked each other for 7 years, and that on China's equivalent of Valentine's Day, they were getting married. More seriously, he noted that the new team intended to create the strongest internet search platform in China and to remain a Chinese enterprise with global influence. The assets that Alibaba acquired include Yahoo's portal in China, its search technology, its information and advertising businesses, and its authentication and verification service. Alibaba also received exclusive user rights within China to the Yahoo brand for an unlimited period. At the same time, Yahoo became Alibaba's largest strategic investor, with 40% of economic benefits and 35% of voting rights. Ma steadfastly declared to the outside world that this was a purchase of Yahoo China by Alibaba, but the press was not convinced it was so. Many could not help but wonder who was in fact buying whom. In the face of all kinds of rumors, it would probably be hard to know for some time. Ma declared he was working every day at Yahoo China, but when he received members of press, he did it only in his own offices at Alibaba, which indicated a sensitivity about image. As for doubts in the industry about whether Yahoo had really invested $1 billion, Ma parried the thrust of journalists. All financial details with regard to the acquisition will be announced within 18 months, he said. At that time, you can make up your own minds. As to what he might be intending to do with $1 billion, Ma noted, it's pretty hard to digest a huge amount of money. When you just swallow down something enormous, it is a challenge for your stomach. $1 billion may look good to people on the outside, but it is undeniably a huge challenge to us. More precise information came with the SEC Form 8K, filed August 16, 2005. The transaction was described as a strategic combination. It involved many more transactions than just the principal one. These included purchase of Taobao shares from SoftBank. They involved purchase of Alibaba shares from certain Alibaba shareholders for an aggregate figure of $570 million. After all the transactions, the result was that Yahoo owned approximately 40% of outstanding shares of Alibaba on a fully diluted basis, including shares reserved for issuance under Alibaba's employee stock plans and upon exercise of outstanding options, warrants, and a convertible bond issued to SoftBank. Alibaba, for its part, then owned 100% of the outstanding shares of Taobao. Ma's official statement about the transaction was upbeat. Teaming up with Yahoo will allow us to deliver an unmatched range of e-commerce services to businesses and consumers in China, with the addition of Yahoo China to Alibaba. Comms Business. We are expanding our services to provide a leading search offering to China's internet, is winning in B2B in China, winning in C2C, winning in online payments, and now we're going to win in search. Masayoshi Son also had some comments, since his SoftBank was a crucial party to the deal. He disagreed with some opinions that the $4 billion valuation of the new company was too high. I think it's too low, he said. That's why we are not selling our entire stake. It's a signal of our confidence that this company will grow much more. It was generally felt that the newly combined forces of Alibaba and Yahoo in China were a serious threat to eBay. Yahoo had beat out eBay in Japan as well as Taiwan. A combined Taobao and Yahoo were now on the warpath to beat eBay in China. Who runs the show? In the face of questions from reporters, Jack Ma was clear on the subject of who was boss. Journalists wondered how he was going to manage what might be a sticky relationship with Yahoo headquarters in the States. Ma did not mince words. Many people are asking what the reporting relationship is going to be with America. I tell them that in China, Jerry Yang should report to me. I am chairman of the board. He is a board member. I am his boss. He is not my boss. All the decision-making is right here in China. This was in line with Ma's conviction that Alibaba had to be a China-born and China-run company. Political considerations inside China's regulatory structure dictate a high degree of native son identity. At the same time, Ma was playing for bigger stakes than just China. He recognized that China's economy and demographics meant that it was inevitable that country would be in the forefront of global e-commerce in the near future. Playing for global stakes meant that a China base was an asset, not, as many had previously assumed, a liability. Meanwhile, new employees from Yahoo China had to be inducted into a peculiarly positive way of thinking of Alibaba's chairman. Jack Ma gave them their first lesson in a speech made to employees. He titled the speech, "Edison Tricked the World." The original manuscript has been lost, but an employee who was present when Ma delivered it reconstructed the gist of the text. Today is the first time I am meeting with our new Yahoo friends in person. I want to thank you for coming. I also want to share with you some reasons for success, even though most of you will probably not benefit from them. Since you are all hardworking and intelligent, you will probably reject my comments out of hand. A few of you may be lazy enough to get something out of them. However, let's get to the point. There are many extremely clever people in the world, and there are lots of well-educated people who seem unable to succeed. This is because they've been wrongly taught from an early age. They have developed the habit of being overly diligent and hardworking. Many of these people remember Edison's famous phrase, the one about genius being 99% sweat and the rest inspiration. They have been led around by the nose by this saying for their entire lives. I'm telling you now it's wrong. If you plod forward with diligence, in the end you'll be left with nothing. Edison was in fact too lazy to consider the real reasons for his success. That is why he came out with that phrase and tricked the whole world. It's time for us to rethink the facts. Some of you may think I am talking nonsense. Let me give you 100 examples that prove you are wrong. Facts, after all, trump any argument. The richest man on earth, Bill Gates, was a programmer who was too lazy to study at school, so he dropped out. He was also too lazy to remember all those complex DOS commands, so he built that graphic interface. What was it called? Eve forgotten. I'm too lazy to remember these things. The result was that the entire world now uses that face, that window, and he had become the world's richest man. Then there is the most valuable brand on earth, Coca-Cola. The boss of Coca-Cola was even more lazy. China's tea culture has a long and venerable history. Brazil's coffee is delicious, but this guy was too lazy to go looking for them. He put a little sugar together with some water, packaged in a bottle, and sold it, and called it Coca-Cola. The rest is history. The entire world is drinking this liquid that looks a little like blood. Then soccer. The best soccer player in the world who is fundamentally too lazy to move around much on the field. He just stands before the goal of the other side. He waits for the ball to come near him, then gives it a kick. As one of the highest paid athletes in the world, people puff him up and say he runs with the ball faster than anyone. It's not true. Other people run for 90 minutes. He runs for 15 seconds. Naturally, he is considered faster. Fast food. The most successful fast food company in the world is McDonald's. Its boss was lazy in the extreme. Too lazy to study the refinements of French cooking or the complex skill of Chinese cuisine. He just stuck a piece of beef in between two chunks of bread, and as a result the world has this M sign all over it. The pizza boss is the same. We Chinese have Lao Bing with all the things inside. This man was too lazy to stick anything inside. He puts it right on top and sells it as pizza. It's the same materials, but his pizza costs 10 times as much as Lao Bing. Then there are other, more clever lazy people. They were too lazy to climb stairs, so they invented elevators. They were too lazy to walk, so they invented cars, trains, airplanes. They were too lazy to kill people one by one, so they invented nuclear bombs. They were too lazy to work out every calculation, so they invented mathematical formulas. Too many examples. I'm too lazy to give any more. Oh, yes. And then there is that other bit of nonsense I want to mention about how you have to be in frantic motion in order to stay healthy. How many athletes do you see growing old? Not so many. The longest lived people on earth are those monks who sit around and are too lazy to eat meat. What would our lives be like right now without all these lazy people? I'm too lazy to think about it. People are like this, but animals too. The tortoise, said to be the longest living animal on Earth. Well, tortoises hardly move at all. They just crouch there and as a result live to be 1,000. But compared to rabbits, who are diligent and who run around all the time, who wins? Cows are the most diligent, and as a result people give them nothing but grass to eat and then add the insult of squeezing them for milk. Pandas, in contrast, are lazy things that do nothing at all. They just sit there gnawing on a piece of bamboo all day. What do people do with them? They protect them and call them national treasures. To return to our work, you see people running around here in the company. Are they the ones who are most highly paid? Absolutely not. Those most highly paid sit around looking carefree. They probably have a lot of stock options as well. The examples I give are just to clarify an issue, which is that, in fact, this world relies on lazy people to carry it forward. The world is marvelous, thanks to them. Now you should all be aware of the reason for your lack of success. Laziness is not, of course, stupid lazy. If you want to be able to work less, you have to think of ways to do it, clever ways to be allowed to be lazy. You have to have a lazy style, a lazy state of mind. Like me, I've been lazy since I was a child. Look how short I am. I was even too lazy to grow. That's the state of mind you need to cultivate. Thank you all again. Yahoo China challenges Google and Baidu. Search engines are big business. It is estimated that by 2009 the value of the advertising market on search engines in America alone will grow to over $5 billion. China's market is smaller, but is expected to come near $1 billion by 2010. All of the globe's major players are picking up the pace in China in order to occupy that vital part of the internet market. The major search engine players in China are Baidu and Google. Over the course of 2004 and 2005, these two surged ahead of competitors, most importantly ahead of Yahoo China. Baidu's 33.1% of the market in 2004 rose to 46.5% in 2005. Google's 22.4% of the market rose to 26.9% in 2005. Yahoo China, meanwhile, lost ground. Its market share went from 30.2% to 15.6%. After Alibaba acquired Yahoo China, Jack Ma decided to implement a total revision of the Yahoo site, and he did it to resemble the Google look. Google is the greatest competitor for the search engine market in the world. Google not only maintains a firm hold on the Western market, but since 2005 has systematically begun a campaign in China. China's own local company, Baidu, was listed on NASDAQ at the end of 2005. An extravagant rise in its price swiftly turned all eyes in its direction. All of this was difficult for Jerry Yang to accept, understanding as he did the importance of the China market. Most people believe that the reason he was willing to relinquish Yahoo China to Alibaba was not merely that Yahoo China was in difficult straits, but more importantly that competitive global pressure was forcing him to undertake a bypass strategy. Yahoo's cooperation with Alibaba has always had the shadow of Google behind it. Once Microsoft started bidding for Yahoo, the struggle for the pearl between the two mightiest dragons in the world was on. Since the contest started, Microsoft and Yahoo have engaged in on-again, off-again negotiations that, as of this writing, are on hold. If Yahoo fell behind in the China market, it clearly would have no chance in the future to overtake Google on the wider stage, and Ma was aware of the odds. In the second half of 2005, he mobilized a transformation campaign at Yahoo China. He began with a simple slogan, "In China, Yahoo is search, and search is Yahoo." He publicly declared that Yahoo fully intended to sit at the place of honor in China's search engine market. In order to achieve this transformation, Ma did three things. First, he threw out the homepage of the previous Yahoo China site, replacing it with a starkly simple page that initiated searches. This homage to Google's homepage made it clear that, indeed, search was Yahoo and Yahoo was search. Second, he forecast a wildly optimistic figure for Yahoo China's revenues in 2006. The figure was so outrageous that few took it seriously. Everyone felt that Jack Ma was under great pressure, and that he often used a device of self-encouragement to whip up enthusiasm and spur performance. Ma was, after all, a teacher and knew how to draw out the potential in students. Third, he clarified what Alibaba meant by search and how that fit into the overall strategy of the parent company. In doing this, it became apparent that his search goals for Yahoo China and the search goals of Google were different. Ma's overarching strategy for the company maintains a clear focus on the business of e-commerce. In the coming 5 years, we will be integrating search in our development of e-commerce, Ma has repeatedly stated. E-commerce remains a holy grail. Value-added services for small and medium-sized enterprises remain the driving business model. In explaining this, Ma again uses the analogy of weiqi, the Asian game that uses small black and white stones on a grid-line board. Despite its simple rules, the game requires considerable mental attention. The objective is to gain control of the board by surrounding your opponent's pieces and taking them out of the action. Keeping your own pieces close together reduces their chances of being attacked. Keeping your pieces more widely deployed increases your own chances for controlling the board. These two postures are generally conflicting. The player constantly has to consider the balance between defense and offense. Ma enjoys discussing weiqi with his favorite author, Louis Cha. It forms his mental landscape when he is thinking about the future of the company. Most people aim for an end result. Ma sees the probabilities in various shifting moves along the way and knows that as the board changes, strategy also shifts. Those who excel at weiqi look at the overall structure, he has said. Those who are bad at it think just about the final result. Part of the shifting nature of the board in the internet realm is the way in which technology is gradually being tamed, as it were, and made to suit the needs of human beings. Right now, search engines are technology-driven. Search is a game for engineers, Ma has noted to employees. It doesn't really take into account the true needs of users. Search should just be a tool. It can't change our lives, whereas the internet can and will change China. Ma acquired Yahoo China because he felt that Alibaba lacked search capability in growing the e-commerce business, and this lack was obstructing growth. After buying Yahoo China, Ma began to mold the search capabilities in service of Alibaba goals. The general manager for search operations of Yahoo agrees with that approach. If you talk in terms of user satisfaction, Tian Jiang declared to an audience at the March 2006 conference on search engine strategies, held in Nanjing, no matter whether it is Yahoo, search functions or Baidu or Google, all of them are inadequate. They are the product of engineers' brains. Their man-made categorization is not in line with what people need. Technology should be in the service of people, not the other way around. If people are in the service of technology, we have technology for technology's sake. That's just going to frighten users away. Some have taken exception to this view. Zhou Xiaoning, president of Google's Greater China Sales and Business Development Group, is one of them. Zhou's response to Tian Jiang's comments was that de facto change has to be propelled by technology first. The average man in the street cannot dream up the direction and degree of technological change. Only after a product has made an appearance can it be worked upon, modified, adapted. Search in general was a technology that still relied mainly on the input of technicians. At Google, therefore, engineers enjoy the highest positions. They can deliver. Whatever you ask them to do, they can do, he said proudly. At the same time, he admitted that products created purely by engineers were not necessarily market-ready. They needed the validation of users. Zhou Xiaoning has pointed out that the growth of the internet is creating a tremendous increase in the volume of information. Search is an important method of both gathering and consolidating information. It can raise the efficiency of people's activities, and therefore is radically changing people's lives. At the end of the day, Alibaba and Google have different concepts in mind when they discuss search. They therefore also have different formulations of market strategy. It will be interesting to watch how the different perspectives affect the development of China's future internet industry. Search engines and keyword services. It can work only if it is local. Jack Ma applies this mantra to internet practices, not only in China, but also in the United States. American Yahoo is based on the needs of America. Alibaba Yahoo similarly has to be based on the needs of China. It cannot simply copy. Ma's emphasis was necessary when Yahoo China came under the Alibaba rubric, for the temptation was to copy and paste the old system into the new. In order to meet the needs not only of the Chinese public, but also of the special user groups operating in the realm of Taobao and Alibaba, Ma transformed the old Yahoo search engine into one that took advantage of paying customers in China. Both Taobao and Alibaba offer paid services that allow clients to put their keywords at the head of search results. This service is connected to the primary rationale of the enterprise, which is to provide useful tools to companies engaged in e-commerce that help them make money. The keyword service is not only an ideal sales tool for Alibaba, but also is necessary for enterprises that are using the internet for their promotion. When buyers search the Alibaba site and come across enterprises in which they may be interested, they can peruse information that includes keyword searches. Creating a seamless search engine required extremely competent engineers who understood the goals of the overall system. More importantly, it required an understanding of how to use the integrated capabilities of internet resources in order to attain the goals of e-commerce. Ma was intentionally creating an e-commerce service with limitless capability. This took advantage of all the various parts of the puzzle that he was drawing together. Alipay, Yahoo search engine, and so on. Ma was bringing seemingly disparate groups into the same arena. By integrating these, he was allowing no change influence all change, a profoundly misunderstood tenet in Chinese philosophy. Yahoo China's share of the China search market had dropped from 30.2% to 15.6% between 2004 and 2005, and so Jack Ma decided to undertake a total facelift of the site. In November 2005, he announced to the public that Yahoo China had changed its format. The homepage had been simplified, as noted earlier. Nonetheless, only 3 months later, Ma had changed his mind. After returning from a trip to the States, he declared, "When Yahoo doesn't act like Yahoo is when it will be really successful." He had just been to visit the 40 engineers at the American Yahoo headquarters who had been merged into Alibaba. He complained to them that they lacked a feel for what the customer needed. They were behaving like, engineers. From now on, he hoped that engineers would look at problems from the perspective of users of the internet. One person later revealed that, as a result, Yahoo China's homepage would have not only a search box, but also under that some hot topics, and under the hot topics, hot content. In addition to these facelift changes, Ma began to reorganize Yahoo's personnel. He began by pulling together a new high-level management team. He made Tian Jiang, Yahoo China's general manager, directly responsible to him. Under Tian Jiang came Li Rui, in charge of Yahoo's email business, as well as deputy general manager of all China business. Directly under him was Mao Xian, in charge of the new search portal business, including the original Yahoo team. This direct line of command allowed clear communications, in theory, and was helpful in increasing control over any problems that might arise in the course of Yahoo China's growth. The direct line of command also increased pressure on subordinates. "Ma put a considerable amount of pressure on me," said Tian Jiang. He demanded that Yahoo China's page browsing rate be increased by a minimum of 200%. In addition, a number of new employees were hired in order to improve the portal. Prior to the merger, Yahoo's content department totaled around 40 people. Alibaba now increased this, since Ma felt that existing content was too lifeless. He felt that Yahoo China needed to concentrate its focus on 3 areas: entertainment, sports, and finance. These 3 promised the highest number of hits, and entertainment was the area on which Jack Ma chose to focus. From now on, Yahoo will be entering the entertainment field, announced Jack Ma in the early part of the Year of the Dog. Entertainment had been shown to be the one thing most wanted by net people. Since Yahoo Search intended to become China's premier search engine, it followed that Yahoo had to go into that territory. In January 2006, Jack Ma announced that he was teaming up with Hunan Satellite and the Hawaii brothers to develop a completely new form of entertainment show called Yahoo Searches for the Stars. Through entertainment, Yahoo Searches for the Stars hoped to achieve a daily increase in the numbers of search users. The China Internet Association had predicted that the total search market in China would continue to maintain an annual growth rate of 70% over the next 3 years, as it had in the years just past. The opportunities were considerable. Jack Ma's January 2006 announcement about moving into entertainment led to a liaison between Yahoo and three of the most famous movie directors in China, Chen Kaige, Feng Xiaogang, and Zhang Jizhong. In Beijing, Yahoo Search announced that it was investing $3.75 million in this venture. Each director was invited to make a short ad relating to the subject of Yahoo Search. The result was to be less of an ad than a short movie, a brief video on the internet that experimented with the possibilities of the media. Ma addressed the subject in concrete terms. The content of most interest to the common man on the internet is entertainment. If Yahoo Search is to become the premier choice, then it must throw itself wholeheartedly into entertainment. It must lead in entertainment. People in the industry felt that this was a weak spot at that time. Baidu had been strong in entertainment when MP3 searches came in vogue, but then ran up against copyright infringement of downloaded material and found it necessary to think of a better way to get traffic. Jack Ma felt that short movies or video clips would perhaps be the trend in the near future and would in any event be able to deliver good promotion results. Chen Kaige, Feng Xiaogang, and Zhang Jizhong were therefore engaged to help deliver the content. The fame of these three men is stupendous in China. Their association with the project was a huge draw for hopeful young men and women of talent. The general plan in the Yahoo searches for the stars was to put out a call for acting and directing talent, somewhat like the initial stages of American Idol. Any young person could participate in the contest. From January 4th to late February 2006, judges, including the three directors, would be selecting an initial 150 people to go on to the second stage of the contest. From these, they would choose 36, and then 9 in the final 3. These finalists would be Yahoo S-stars. The prize: to work together with the three directors in the filming of 3 short films, as actors or as assistant directors themselves, involved in all stages of the creative process. The plan called for all activities to be broadcast via the internet live in real time. Not only were winners able to work with famous directors, but after the shoot they could, if they wanted, become contracted actors with the Hawaii brothers. This was irresistible to anyone with dreams of being a star. Led by the directors, the voters for the event would be the great mass of public internet users. Voting could be done on the internet, using something called a Yahoo Pass. Each holder of a Yahoo Pass ID was allowed to cast 10 votes a day. We will not follow the course of this contest any farther. Suffice it to say it was an ingenious way to encourage more traffic on Yahoo. Chapter 8. How can you see the rainbow if you don't go out in the rain? Nobody goes out in the rain without getting a little bit wet. As Bill Gates always says of Microsoft, we expect to get sued. That's just part of the business. Alibaba found the same thing to be true, and it has handled its legal issues with a fair degree of success. One of the first lawsuits came in 2001 with regard to Alibaba's domain name. In the Alibaba legend, when a person incants the magic words, "Open Sesame," he opens up a treasure trove. In the real world of the internet, however, the magic words open up a lawsuit. The plaintiff was the Beijing Zhongpu Science and Technology Development Company, Limited, which used the domain name. In Chinese, the numbers 2688 are pronounced early Yuba, which sounds similar to Alibaba. This company brought suit against Alibaba for infringing its trademark rights in the Beijing Municipal People's Intermediate Court. The suit was filed on February 1st, 2001. On December 10th of the same year, the court rejected the case and confirmed that Alibaba's Chinese domain should remain law fully under the registered ownership of Alibaba Internet Technology Company, Limited. Beijing Zhongpu did not accept this decision, and on December 20th formally appealed to the Municipal Supreme Court. Yao Zengqi, chairman of the board of Zhongpu, declared, "The court's judgment was groundless, a contradiction from start to end. We can't figure out what the law is supposed to be protecting if it arrives at judgments like this." The vice president of Alibaba in charge of the case, Jin Jianhang, stood his ground. "We will actively fight the appeal, and we will guard the interests of our company and our many users. We can't allow the brand of Alibaba to have any negative influence." Yao Zengqi disagreed. As he saw it, The company Alibaba had not yet been established when his company registered its trademark. How could he have intended to snatch the name of a company that was not yet in existence? Alibaba refuted this with the statement that it had begun using the names on both Chinese and English websites that Jack Ma started unofficially at the end of 1998 and officially launched in March 1999. Zhang Pu registered the domain name 4 months after the name Alibaba had come into regular use. Zhang Pu was clearly aiming at Alibaba in registering this name, and the Beijing courts refused to legitimize the subterfuge. Following is the official text associated with this case. This should put to rest any doubts that the Chinese government is serious about enforcing an international code with respect to Internet intellectual property rights. In November 2000, the China Internet Network Information Center, which manages China's top-level domain name with the suffix "san" and their Chinese equivalents, granted the Chinese Alibaba domain name to Alibaba. CINIC had reserved the Alibaba domain name under the principle that it was a famous internet name that should belong to Alibaba, the company that operates the website www.alibaba.com. CINIC had implemented this reservation policy for a number of other well-known internet companies in China, including Sina.com and So.com. However, Alibaba's legal ownership of the name was challenged by Beijing Zhongpu Technology Development Co. Limited, a Beijing-based software reseller, who brought the lawsuit against CINIC and Alibaba in Beijing in February 2001. Zhongpu claimed that due to CINIC's reservation policy, it was not able to register the Alibaba domain name in CINIC's online registration system, and it challenged the legality of Alibaba's ownership of the domain name. In its ruling, the court pointed out that Zhongpu had no basis for its claim to the Alibaba domain name because it provided no evidence of any rights to any intellectual property relating to the name. Although Zhongpu had applied to register Alibaba as its trademark, which application is contested by Alibaba as having been submitted in bad faith with the intent of unfair competition, the court found that mere submission of a trademark application does not give rise to any legal rights to name until it is registered. The court further stated that Alibaba should be the rightful owner of the domain name because Alibaba is the company that created the renowned Alibaba brand based on the internet website www.alibaba.com and the commercial value associated with the brand. The court also stated, in the circumstance where the Alibaba website is already well known among internet users, registration of the domain name by someone else could confuse internet users and be detrimental to the rights of Alibaba, thereby constituting unfair competition. In light of China's entry into the WTO and its commitment to enforce protection of well-known global brand names against unfair competition, the court's opinion sounds consistent with the spirit of fairness in intellectual property protection. We applaud the court's decision, said Alibaba CEO Jack Ma after the verdict was announced. This landmark case shows that the court recognizes a national and international brand that Alibaba has built up in our business. We are pleased that the Chinese administrative and legal systems are protecting the intellectual property rights of the rightful owners and preventing opportunists from taking advantage of other people's hard work. Another legal matter, this time initiated by Alibaba, concerned the company Taobao. On April 20th, 2004, Taobao's COO declared to the world that the company had absolute proof that Yahoo China was siphoning large quantities of data from its servers. Taobao raised an official protest against this behavior. COO Sun Danyu said that Taobao had analyzed the problems and, after ruling out internal server problems, realized it was dealing with a very sophisticated hacker. Using high-powered software tools, this hacker was grabbing hold of Taobao's commercial statistics and proprietary data. On further investigation, Taobao discovered that the IP of the hacker was owned by none other than Yahoo China. Yahoo China denied the charge and noted that since it was a website with search engine functions, it often took in large amounts of data in the course of automatic searches. The Taobao incident had arisen in the course of a normal search and had simply caused a large amount of product data and seller information to be downloaded from Taobao to Yahoo. The issue was not unique to Yahoo. Taobao claimed that eBay Eachnet had also been using improper competition to hack into Taobao's servers in the past. Such problems were referred to Chinese authorities and eventually resolved by superior competition of the stronger party, whether it was strictly legitimate or not. Meanwhile, in August 2005, Alibaba and Yahoo China came to their agreement to merge forces. Yahoo China challenges after the acquisition. The combining of Alibaba and Yahoo China forces confronted Jack Ma with several major dilemmas. First and foremost was how to keep to the e-commerce focus when Yahoo was a portal with a wealth of other capabilities. Second was how to reallocate human resources in a way that did not capsize the boat. And third was how to capitalize on the Yahoo brand. Alibaba had single-mindedly focused on e-commerce, with Yahoo its scope of business now extended to information content, search, and such other internet service functions as email and instant messaging. Should Alibaba try to turn Yahoo China into an e-commerce company? Or should Yahoo China retain its portal functions but undergo localization? This question had to be resolved in tandem with the redeployment of human resources. At the first meeting between all Yahoo China employees and Jack Ma, the former president of Yahoo China, Zhou Hongwei, unexpectedly showed up and asked to be allowed to speak. He raised only one request in his speech, and that was that Alibaba deal squarely with Yahoo China employees, finding them positions. This was seen to be somewhat draconian and made the whole process of merging forces even more difficult. Capitalizing on Yahoo as brand name was equally troublesome. Google and Baidu dominate the search market in China, and it has not been clear whether Yahoo can overcome such competitors, which have a strong lead in habitual consumer use. Yahoo is only the fourth largest portal in China, yet still enjoys a brand name that is the envy of many. Wielding that brand name in the search market has been Ma's primary goal. Daily habits of search consumers are quite established, however, and it is not clear whether Ma will succeed. Despite his efforts to bring technical experts to China who have been meeting one-on-one with Chinese developers in a Herculean effort to develop the platform, there have been many doubters. Chinese enjoy watching bloody battles between contenders. Many find it amusing to see the strong eat the weak in a fight for the survival of the fittest. There is no reason to believe at this stage that Jack Ma will disappoint his audience. He has been known to pull unusual moves in the past, and he doubtless will again in the future. The stakes in all these lawsuits and competitive postures are increasingly large. The next section describes just how large, according to the most recent research on the Internet in China. Status of the Internet in China. On January 17, 2008, China's authoritative cynic issued its 21st annual report on the state of the Internet in China. The first line of this report declares that the total number of net people in China is 210 million, 5 million fewer than in the United States. The numbers have already changed, however, and Chinese users now surpass the number in the United States. From being a country that forbade mention of the Internet a dozen years ago, China now dominates Internet communications. How this affects the Weiqi board of Internet players is unclear, but it is certain that any strategic moves by global players must take China into consideration. Since China is so crucial in global strategies for these companies, the following section gives a summary of Cynic's evaluation of the Internet in China in 2008. It is a translated and summarized version of the Chinese text available on the Internet. Cynic Report Summary. Cynic forecast that in the early to middle part of 2008, China will become the country with the greatest number of Internet users in the world. The rate of increase in number of users in China is 16%, which is still lower than the average worldwide rate of 19.1%. For the first time, Cynic has done a detailed analysis of the composition of new Internet users in China in this report. Among new users in 2007, the trends are clear. The increase is fastest among people under the age of 18 and over the age of 30. Although the greatest increases are among the young and the educated, the statistics show that more and more lower-income people are now accessing the Internet. People in farming villages are becoming an important segment of new users. 40% of the 73 million new users in 2007 are in towns and villages, which means that 29.17 million new users are rural Chinese. By the end of December 2007, The number of people in China's farming villages that access the internet had reached 52.62 million, with a 127.7% annual rate of increase. This statistic indicates that villages in China hold huge potential for becoming internet market consumers. Various government policies have focused on connecting villages to national communications networks, whether via telephone or cable. The goal of such policies is to informationize these communities and broaden their internet access. Rates of current usage and increasing trends show that the market potential, now being realized in villages, is absolutely vast. Surveys taken for the report indicate that internet use has evolved in China and entertainment has become the most important application. The percentages of people who confirm they use the internet for specific purposes include the following 7 categories: music, instant messaging, videos, news, search engines, games, and email. In contrast to many parts of the world, much of internet access in China is via high-speed broadband connections. Over 163 million people now access the internet via broadband connections in China. 50.4 million people access through handheld devices. Both of these types of access are rapidly increasing. In terms of geographic distribution, access to the internet in Beijing and Shanghai is highest, with 46.6% of the population of Beijing and 45.8% of the population in Shanghai accessing the internet. The greatest rate of increase, however, is in Guangdong province, due to the influence of handheld devices. Within this past year, usage in that province alone has increased by 15 million people. At present, 140 million people access the internet from their homes in China. This is an increase of 35.7% over last year. Home access through computer is via 78 million computers, meaning roughly 2 people access per each home computer. The greatest concentration of access via computer is in Guangdong province, Beijing, and Shanghai. The average cost per home for home access is $10.26 per month, or an annual total access fee of $123 per household. 67.3% of all internet users access the internet from home. In addition, 33.9% of all users access from internet cafes, and 24.3% access from their workplace. The average cost of accessing the internet from internet cafes is $7.07 per month. Access from home is rising rapidly, while access at the workplace is level with only a slight increase. At present, China has 50.4 million people accessing the internet via handheld devices. Around 2/3 of all those accessing via handheld devices are male, and most of these are between the ages of 18 and 24. Some 94% of people who access the internet use desktop computers. 26.7% use laptops, and 24% use handheld devices. Clearly, there's overlap among these 3 user groups, with some accessing in more than one way. Of people with a high school education in China, 83.35 million have not yet accessed the internet, while 437 million people who have a middle school education have not yet accessed the internet. The most important reasons given are that these people do not understand computers or the internet itself, they do not have time, and they do not have the equipment. To those who do access the internet, the practice has become a necessary function in daily life. The average length of time spent on the internet per week, by users overall, is 16.2 hours. People who use the internet give it high marks in terms of its usefulness to them. 93.1% say it is extremely useful to work and study. 38.3% say they feel they have missed something if they haven't been on the internet at least once a day. In terms of media on the internet, 73.6% of people interviewed have used the internet to read news in the past half year. The percentage of people finding internet news believable or true is 51.3%. The entertainment value of the internet is rated somewhat higher. Use of the net for gaming totals 59.3% among all users. On average, an internet user playing games on the internet accesses the internet for 7.3 hours per week for this purpose. Of all internet users surveyed, 71.2% have downloaded music within the past half year, 76.9% have watched online videos, and 40.5% have downloaded videos. Purchasing of goods on the internet is increasing. 22.1% of all users have bought goods via the internet this past year. The higher the level of education, the higher the amount of web purchases. On average, in the past half year, an internet buyer has purchased $64 worth of goods on the internet. China-based domain names now total 11.93 million, an increase of 190.4% over last year. The main increase has come to use of the domain name CN, which now totals some 9 million registered sites, a fourfold increase over the number in 2006. There are now 135 million IP addresses in China, an increase of 38% over the previous year. At present, there are 1,029 IP addresses for every 10,000 people. There are 6,442 IP addresses for every 10,000 internet users. There are 1.5 million websites in China. Among these, slightly over 1 million have a CN domain address, and CN domain names constitute 66.9% of all websites in China. As for problems with the internet, viruses are rampant. 35.8% of internet users have experienced viruses on more than 5 occasions in the past year. Only 3.6% of users report not having contracted viruses. Stealing of accounts and passwords is also rampant, and the worst offenses are experienced in internet cafes. 56.5% of people whose accounts or passwords were stolen had them stolen in internet cafes. 37.1% experienced this at home, either their own or the home of a friend. 24.7% experienced it at work, 17.5% at school, and 15.5% in public places, such as libraries. Chapter 9. The Personal Life and Thoughts of Jack Ma. Family. December 15th, 2005 marked the date of a major change in Alibaba's senior-level personnel. On that day, Jack Ma announced that an employee named Zhang Ying would be leaving the company. When he made this announcement, the auditorium was at first silent. Then many in the audience began to cry. Zhang Ying was Jack Ma's wife. She had been with the company from the beginning and rendered outstanding service. Her decision to leave the company was initially rejected by the board of directors. Employees were also against it. Zhang Ying herself stood up to this pressure and slowly, but surely persuaded the company to let her go. She told the company that this was not a decision made lightly, and it was not Jack Ma's decision. It was made voluntarily on her own. She feels in part that it is improper to have the CEO's wife there in the company. Ma tried to explain. No matter what that person is doing or how well, it looks funny. Outsiders assumed that the decision was taken because the company was maturing, transitioning from startup to regular operations, and was no longer appropriate to have the wife of the founder involved. Jack Ma himself saw it as a personal choice. She has had no life of her own for years. She has no friends outside the company. She has spent all day every day from the beginning inside this business. Ma and his wife, Zhang Ying, came to know each other in college. First acquaintances, then friends, then lovers, then man and wife. They have been together ever since. As the Chinese saying goes, they have been immersed in the same juices, to the extent that they operate as one. Zhang Ying has always remained in the background, as a support to Jack Ma, but friends say that in the final analysis, the two rely on each other mutually and are total partners. Their son is now in high school and shows great promise, at least with regard to his height. "He's already taller than I am," exclaimed Jack Ma, implying that perhaps the son long ago shucked off the concerns that kept Ma short. When Ma took his son to visit his own father, Ma jokingly told him, "See how well I'm raising my son. What happened when you were raising me?" Both men knew well that what had happened was the so-called 3 years of natural disaster and the ensuing Cultural Revolution. That it can be joked about today is a tribute to the resilience of the Chinese people. Ma once took a question from reporters that stopped him in his tracks, albeit briefly. The question was, "What are you planning for Valentine's Day?" "I never celebrate Valentine's Day," he finally responded, then added that he really was too busy. One can understand the family life issues that this man's schedule might involve. Ma became a celebrity in 2005 when Alibaba acquired Yahoo China. Chased by the media, his image became ubiquitous overnight. "I saw myself so often on the news that I got sick of myself," he later commented. He had always maintained a friendly relationship with members of the press, but now Jack Ma began to hold a grudge against him. The person he could least neglect in his new celebrity status remained his wife. Like every successful man, Jack Ma has a woman behind him. He has indicated that there is not a moment he does not appreciate the silent woman by his side. Just how silent and supportive is this woman? To all appearances, she is the ultimate partner. In 1995, when Ma was first found in the company, he left his teaching position and threw himself into the crazy world of the internet. Zhang Ying did not object. Instead, she helped him pull together the funds that formed the initial investment in the enterprise. In the single room that served as her first office, she would count each bit of money before spending it. Together, Zhang Ying and Jack Ma created the first B2B web page in the history of China's internet. By 2005, 10 years had gone by and Alibaba's family had grown to more than 2,000 employees. The business had in fact become a whale that even dared to swallow Yahoo China. Zhang Ying decided it was time for her to take a break. In fact, she is not all a silent type woman. Jack Ma has emphasized when questioned about their relationship. She is outstanding as a businesswoman, as well as in her personal life. Professionally, she has done extremely well. Ma cannot conceal a sense of pride about her, but at the same time he is candid about who is boss. When asked if there is a conflict between the two of you, who sacrifices a little more, his answer, naturally she does. Her help to me is total. No matter whether as profession, ally, or personally, she totally understands and supports me. In China, Jack Ma is considered to be a fortunate and very straightforward man. Jack Ma's idol and his martial arts avocation. Few in China can resist the addictive novels of Jin Yong. Jack Ma succumbed many years ago and has modeled his life on the martial code described in the stories. He has said he has one idol in his heart, and that is Louis Cha. The author, who is now in his mid-80s, has described his relationship with Jack Ma as one that transcends generational differences and is a genuine friendship. Jack Ma emphatically describes his business strategy in Xia terms, and much of his understanding of these terms comes directly from Cha's novels. As noted above, these combine martial arts with traditional Chinese culture and Chinese history. As we learn in the first chapter of this book, Xia means something akin to martial heroes, but with deeply resonating layers of cultural and philosophical meaning. Louis Cha lived most of his life in a British colony, and his exploration of these layers may reflect a profound longing for home, a home that for many decades he was unable to visit. Cha was born on February 6, 1924, in the same province that Jack Ma comes from, Zhejiang Province in southern China. His family name is Cha, though it is pronounced in the Mandarin dialect. Knighted in 1981 by Queen Elizabeth, he is considered as much a British treasure as Chinese. The Cha family moved to Hong Kong, where Louis became one of the co-founders of the Hong Kong daily newspaper Ming Pao in 1959. He was the paper's first editor-in-chief, holding this position until 1993, when he retired. At the same time, Louis Cha began writing novels that soon made him the best-selling Chinese author in the world. Over 100 million copies of his 15 novels have officially been sold worldwide. This figure does not include pirated copies, which undoubtedly propel it to multiples of that number. 5 of these 15 novels have been published in English. The most famous of the Book and the Sword, The Legend of the Condor Heroes, Flying Fox of Snowy Mountain, and The Deer in the Cauldron. Cha's last novel was written in 1972. Although Cha has received many and varied awards and honorary degrees, he began in 2007 a 4-year course of study for his non-honorary Ph.D. in Chinese history at the University of Cambridge. Ma has read the novel The Smiling Proud Wanderer more times than any other book. The character he most appreciates is Feng Qingyan, because he admires the way that character moves naturally without premeditation. He has thought through everything and internalized all moves in advance, so that he doesn't have to think about them. They are a part of him. As noted above, the word move is a special term in Chinese that signifies not just physical action, but also mental discipline and focus. In martial arts training, the mental focus is as important, if not more so, than the physical result. This training is of cardinal importance to Jack Ma. His own moves in the realm of business are what have brought him recognition as a master of both strategy and well-timed action. Ma also compares himself to Feng the teacher. His mission in life is to bring along students who can surpass him. I too come from a life of being a teacher. I most like it when my colleagues and my students can surpass me. Among the wuxia concepts Jack Ma put into actual use in his business dealings is a sense of key values, termed the 6 sacred swords in Alibaba parlance. These values are recognized by Western investment firms as bringing a major contribution to the bottom line. They are factored into an employee's performance ratings and so are reinforced in very real-world terms. The 6 swords derive originally from what are called the 9 swords of Dugu, although 9 were consolidated to 6 at Alibaba. Another saying that has been influential in Ma's thinking is, no moves trumps having moves. Once an opponent knows a person's moves, the opponent can use those against him. This relates to the fundamental idea in martial arts that a person's own strength can be turned against him, make him off balance, make him lose what had been his core defense. Your opponent's strongest points are also his weakest, says Ma. Most people think that the places to attack are those that show weakness, but the strengths are generally vulnerable, and the opposite is true. When everyone thinks there is a great danger in a particular strategy, you have to look closely for there may be great opportunities hiding inside. In general, Ma is a contrarian who uses Xia thinking to conceptualize scenarios that others might miss. In Western terms, the phrase, thinking outside the box, is a start on understanding the process, but it is relatively unidimensional compared to the multidimensional training that Xia novels talk about. The training includes sustained focus on logical consequences. For example, one discipline is to visualize a far focus and then a near focus reality. Then keep the vision in mind as you close your eyes and mentally move your reality from one place to another. The same is done in terms of time, training an internal eye to see different realities or scenarios at different times as factors change. Sports psychologists are aware of the benefits of mental training for physical performance. Wuxia masters have used these tricks for centuries. Jack Ma said that he sees the world as an enormous weighty board, which similarly requires sustained logical thinking and focus. In using the moves and the mental training of wuxia masters, he has so far been able to apply ancient traditions to modern business with considerable success. Natural-born performer. It is clear that Jack Ma has absorbed the lessons of martial arts to an unusual degree and applies them to his business strategy. It is equally clear to most who have heard Jack Ma speak that he is a natural-born performer. Jack Ma is street smarts. He speaks to the heart of an issue in down-home language and will never be accused of a lack of self-confidence. As his friend Louis Cha says, he strides the heavens like a white stallion. This is a takeoff on the name Ma, but also refers to the ancient Asian tradition of a white steed galloping through metaphysical realms at the head of his tribe. The white horse in Mongolian, Tibetan, and later Chinese philosophy is a being that can penetrate universes with a supernatural understanding. Not a businessman, MBA, programmer, nor engineer, Jack Ma is seen as someone who transcends these limited spheres. To his admirers, he strides the heavens. It is refreshing, therefore, to hear Ma look at his own failures and derive lessons from them. He has made several about-face turns in business strategy. As a result, he keeps people guessing. He never seems to play by the conventional rules of the game. During the depths of the internet winter, Ma was secretly building Taobao. The cooperation with Yahoo China has shocked many people in the field. In 2007, the entire company was reorganized prior to the listing of Alibaba.com on Hong Kong Stock Exchange, and it will take some time for the industry to digest all the implications. Ma intends to have Alibaba join the ranks of the Fortune 500 in 2009. This latest gamble represents his biggest throw of the dice, and it is undeniable that many are waiting for him to fall from grace. But Jack Ma has a track record as a winner. From an early age, he liked a good fight, and he has kept that feisty attitude as an adult. At the same time, he has occasionally revealed a deeper sense of social responsibility, the desire to influence fundamental social change. One small anecdote illustrates this basic drive. It relates to the very first time Ma appeared on television back in 1995. He recalls, "We had just moved our business in Hangzhou out of my home to a separate office. I would ride my bike back to the office at 8 in the evening after dinner. One night, I suddenly came across a bunch of people removing a manhole from over the water main in the street. There must have been 5 or 6 of these guys, standing around using a big wooden pole to pry it off. I assumed they were going to steal the cover and sell it as scrap metal for some money. The thing was, a few days earlier I had seen a story in the paper about how a child had fallen into one of these holes and drowned after someone took the manhole cover. So it upset me to see people stealing another cover. There were a number of them, however, and just one of me. Plus they were big. I looked around and didn't see any policemen, and the few people nearby weren't taking any notice of this. So I rode on a little, then turned around and rode back, and I went back and forth like this, trying to decide what to do. Finally, I couldn't stand it any longer. I stopped near the man. I kept one foot on my pedal as I shouted at one of them, 'You put that back!' I was thinking that if they charged me, I could run. I raised my fist at them as I shouted. So one of the men did walk over to me and he said, 'What did you say?' That actually pleased me, because here they were responding. I said I wanted the men to put the manhole back in its place. The man then asked me what I thought they were doing. I said, 'You're getting ready to take that manhole and you'd better put it back.' As I said it, I thought it was a pretty stupid question on his part. Looking around, I finally realized that I was being filmed on television. The TV station was doing a kind of psychology experiment, finding out what people would do about the theft, how long it would take for someone to stand up against it. Wealth. On October 17th, 2005, Jack Ma was listed as number 4 in a list of 30 names of the wealthiest entrepreneurs in the IT field in China. This ranking can be accomplished only by published reports of wealth, so it skips over privately held fortunes. Privately held wealth is able to operate in a freer manner than wealth that is subject to government scrutiny, and therefore some people feel it is a most unhappy thing to be put on the list. Ma finds it unfortunate for other reasons as well. The ranking creates a taste for money that affects people's attitudes. Worshipping wealth changes a community's sense of values. This is not the fault merely of a list, of course. Ma and others feel that we are living in an age of wealth, in which money is the yardstick for measuring life. As major fortunes are being made in China, a few senior business people are beginning to be more philanthropic, some admittedly as a form of public penance, others because they understand the leverage their wealth can have on social change. Ma is ambivalent about philanthropy, but not about social change. He likes to think of himself not as a businessman, but as an entrepreneur. To him, businessmen simply try to amass money, whereas entrepreneurs have the more important mission of bringing about positive change. To businessmen and tradespeople, most everything is done in order to make money. Entrepreneurs, in contrast, create value. By creating value for society, they influence society. Making money is a fundamental attribute of entrepreneurs, but it is not your entire capability. Ma explained this attitude in a heartfelt response to an interviewer's questions on CCTV. He went on to say that he felt that philanthropists carry around a shadow over their activities. When people chase after wealth, in a sense they also look down on it even while they are enjoying its pleasures. So those who engage in philanthropy are often a little conflicted. Remember that saying, "So rich all he has left is money." Few people talk about that saying right now, and the reason is that we are in a period in history when people are piling up capital and not want to think too much about its downside. The motivation to chase after money right now is very strong. As a result, people's attitude toward wealth is different from what it was before. Another saying that Ma likes is, "If we are going too fast, we need to slow down a little, wait for our souls to catch up." He feels that raw wealth is not a good indicator of quality of life. An individual's well-being cannot be measured purely in terms of money. All of this sounds like protesting too much, since it is being said by a very wealthy man. But Ma quite specifically challenges a conventional attitude toward money. A lot of people understand how to make money, and there are plenty of people in the world who can make money. There are not many who can influence the world, push society to make itself better. To make a great company, that's what you have to do. Wealth is incidental, as defined by the piling up of money, and Ma is ambitious enough to want to change China in a fundamental way. Specifically, I want to change the history of China's e-commerce. A missionary for e-commerce. In carrying out e-commerce, the most important thing is to keep doing what you're doing right now with passion. To keep it up. Jack Ma. Alibaba is beginning to take its place among those companies that bring to mind an individual with a mission. With Matsushita, one thinks of its founder, Matsushita Konosuk. Whampoa brings to mind Li Ka-shing. Microsoft is Bill Gates. Jack Ma's mission is e-commerce. When Ma speaks, his hands are always waving around. He never stands still but always moves as though preparing to attack. In any interview with the press, he takes the opportunity to proselytize for e-commerce. He wants to make sure that this newly arrived vehicle is daily more familiar to every person in China. He believes e-commerce will restructure the way all business and commerce are done, resulting in radical savings in energy, environment, and human effort. As a result, he has become known as a kind of spiritual proselytizer in China's world of business. One narrowly defined example of e-commerce benefits to the Chinese business community is often summed up as Chinese people versus Walmart. Walmart buys in super large quantities and is thereby able to squeeze down prices of small suppliers. In China today, more than 4/5 of all business is conducted by small and medium-sized enterprises. Since there are an estimated 32 million such enterprises in the country, supplying cost-saving services to this needy group of customers is, in Jack Ma's opinion, not only good business, but also good for the entire economy of China. At the same time, he feels it will be good for the world in streamlining business links, saving in areas where the extra funds can more profitably be put into innovation and a better world. That briefly is the theory. In order to promote that theory, Ma has come up with a number of sound bites that press home the message. We want to give commerce back to business people. That is, allow business people themselves to choose what they need, the language in which they need to operate, the technology they need to use. E-commerce is a process that uses modern methods to increase trade opportunities, to raise the efficiency of production and trade, and to lower costs. Even the most perfect product will not be accepted by the market unless it is useful to the market. If there are real benefits to business people and enterprises, a product will fly. E-commerce has to deliver those real benefits. The winners of e-commerce in the future will not be traditional enterprises, but they also will not be purely internet companies. The future winners will merge the methods of both. What makes us successful as a company is that we are only a step and a half ahead of others. The reason this is best is that products we put before the public can be adopted by them, actually used by them. People need to feel that our e-commerce tools are simple and easy. More than 2 steps ahead of people means you lose that immediate usefulness. There are 2 aspects to e-commerce. One is voluntary, the other is forced. The establishment of trust systems belongs to the forced aspect. I tell everyone that when Alibaba members use the Trust Pass, it's like the doctor forcing a sick person to take a certain medicine. Here, take this. It will be good for you. E-commerce has no best model. All it has is a model that is most suited to yourself. Alibaba is not so much an e-commerce company as we are an electronic services company. You can't do e-commerce in one fell swoop, one shout, and you all rise up. Building the systems is an incremental process. SARS made everyone realize that e-commerce is good. E-commerce allowed business to go on without people infecting everyone else. That's not to say that SARS made e-commerce into something even better. It simply enabled recognition. The 2 biggest problems in e-commerce right now are safety, or the security of transactions, and trust. Of these, the more critical is trust. The most attractive thing about e-commerce is its openness. Chapter 10. Keep it up. Reorganization and IPO. In 2007, Alibaba underwent a major reorganization preparatory to raising money by listing part of the company on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. An umbrella parent called the Alibaba Group became a repository for several of the affiliated Alibaba companies. including 75% of the B2B online marketplace called Alibaba.com. On November 6, 17% of Alibaba.com was sold to public shareholders, with 75% retained by the parent company, the Alibaba Group, and 8% by employees, management, and consultants. The parent Alibaba Group is in turn owned 39% by Yahoo, 29% by SoftBank, and 32% by management and employees. Alibaba.com is incorporated in the Cayman Islands, a location of choice for many Asian companies. Hangzhou Alibaba Advertising Co., Ltd., is incorporated in the People's Republic of China and holds the Internet Content Provider license that allows Alibaba to do its Internet business in China. With 80% of shares, Jack Ma is in control of Hangzhou Alibaba, and Simon Xie, one of the early founders of Alibaba, holds the other 20%. Without licenses from this China-based entity, Alibaba, as an offshore-based entity, could not operate as an internet company within China. To prepare for this reorganization, a new management team was installed at Alibaba in November 2006. The new CEO of Alibaba.com, in charge of all Alibaba's B2B business, is David Wei. Wei comes from outside the Alibaba fold. He previously headed China's largest home improvement retailer, so he understands the buying and selling side of the business from the customer perspective. A new CFO, Maggie Wu, was also hired from outside to handle Alibaba.com's finances. Wu previously was an audit partner at KPMG's Beijing office. The Alibaba.com IPO represented the second largest internet IPO in history, despite being a public offering for less than 1/5 of only one part of the Alibaba Group. The largest was that of Google, which raised $1.67 billion. After listing Alibaba, Com stock soon traded at 39 Hong Kong dollars and 50 cents, up from the offer price of 13 Hong Kong dollars and 50 cents. As of mid-2008, Alibaba.com was trading in the neighborhood of 10 Hong Kong dollars. Industry valuations of the company overall are positive. Alibaba.com's paying customer base is increasing very quickly. It enjoys over 80% gross margins. Its business model is working, and its cash flow is excellent. These high marks can be attributed to the way in which Alibaba was reorganized prior to the listing. Lesser margin businesses were kept outside the financials of the listed company. At the same time, the sister entities continue to contribute to the overall critical mass of Alibaba's business. Jack Ma is intent on allowing lower margin businesses to look to a strategic future rather than force them into the straitjacket of quarterly earnings reports. In general, the reorganization and the listing have been well received. 3 major investment banks shepherded the process of taking Alibaba into a new era: Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Deutsche Bank. Jack Ma's martial arts moves may have provided the framework of the deal, the bones, as it were, but the basic concept was helped considerably by the professional attention of these 3. Alibaba.com was incorporated in September 2006 as a holding company for the B2B businesses of the Alibaba Group. Taobao, Alibaba, and Alipay were split off as separate entities, though still under the overarching structure of the Alibaba Group. Unlike the acquisition of Yahoo China, which was accomplished privately and quickly and without the complexities of public scrutiny, the listing process was carefully guided by highly technical expertise. Reorganizing the company to separate high-margin businesses from low-margin ones had the immediate effect of gaining a tremendous cushion of capital. The Alibaba Group has made no public decision regarding whether to inject other group assets into the Alibaba.com listed company. Separating the businesses may help the Alibaba Group pursue its strategic goal of dominating e-commerce-related activities, including marketplaces, payments, search, and advertising in China and elsewhere, by allowing its unlisted units to focus on market growth rather than profitability. This is very much in line with Jack Ma's general philosophy. Alibaba.com has entered a field that few but industry professionals understand very well. The activities of internet companies include several key money-making components, including paid search, online marketplace, trade media, and social networking. Alibaba.com is involved in all of these. Its primary competitors in the search market in China are Baidu and Google. In the consumer online marketplace, the parent company is going head-to-head, most importantly, with eBay. Baidu and Alibaba.com both act as listing tools for small and medium-sized enterprises, but Baidu offers these companies exposure only in China, whereas Alibaba.com offers them global exposure. Baidu serves both wholesalers and retailers, whereas Alibaba.com serves only wholesalers. In the B2B online marketplace arena, Alibaba.com now holds 60% of its market share in China. In industry jargon, Alibaba operates online networks that derive value from their members' interactions. Alibaba is said to be the clear market leader worldwide, with a critical mass in what is known as a network effects business. The magical thing about network effects is that they grow themselves. Like a crystal or any other self-organizing structure, they self-accrete without having to be created laboriously, bit by bit. As a result, the idea of a network effects business fits perfectly with Jack Ma's renowned appreciation for the idea of being lazy. The reality, however, is that there is nothing lazy about Alibaba. The network that Alibaba offers relates primarily to commerce, and selling that idea to customers requires tremendous sales force participation. In point of fact, Alibaba's is a labor-intensive model. The sales force of the company now totals more than 2,500 people. Sales offices were open in 16 cities in China prior to 2007 and in another 14 cities in 2007. As of June 30th, 2007, the total number of full-time Alibaba employees came to 4,400. Jack Ma and those employees run very hard to keep the coffers full. The business model. Alibaba makes money by charging customers for membership services. Alibaba.com operates international and domestic online marketplaces, which charge companies, primarily small companies, to list products online. Buyers can go online and browse these products for free. Suppliers therefore have 24-hour access to a global audience. As of June 2007, Alibaba.com hosted 2.4 million supplier storefronts, with, on average, 2.9 million new product listings per month. Buyers click on product listings and are taken to suppliers' storefronts. Buyers are allowed on-site for free, but Alibaba charges fees for services to sellers. Because of the free access, Alibaba states that, "Together our marketplaces form a community of more than 24 million registered users from over 200 countries and regions. Some 3/4 of Alibaba.com's income derives from its international, English-language-based marketplace. 1/4 comes from the domestic, Chinese-language-based marketplace. The basic price of services in the English-language marketplace is, in 2008, around $6,500. Around 22,000 China suppliers are currently registered as members and pay this price." Alibaba started charging for its English-language marketplace services in the year 2000. The basic price of services in the China-language domestic marketplace is a little less than $400. Alibaba started charging for domestic services in 2002. Now nearly 222,000 suppliers are currently registered and pay this price. In addition to basic membership services, those companies that select additional value-added services are charged extra. For example, International Trust Pass members pay $589 per year for Trust Pass services. Some 13% of these are customers from the United States. 16% are from Hong Kong, 11% from Taiwan, 8% from India, and 6% from Korea. All contracts for value-added services for suppliers are for 1 to 2 years, and all must be paid in advance. This is highly beneficial to Alibaba's cash flow. Revenues are amortized over the period for which they are contracted. Alibaba's business model takes advantage of the fact that China has been and continues to be the primary product supplier to the world. As mentioned previously, some 4/5 of the companies supplying products to the world from China are small and medium-sized enterprises, and there are about 32 million such enterprises in China. Of these, a small percentage, perhaps 2 to 3 million, actually export. Alibaba therefore focuses on the top of this enormous pyramid of small companies, in other words, those savvy and nimble enough to get their products to global markets. The rest of the 32 million companies, however, are also part of the process, for they supply to the top of the pyramid global suppliers. These companies may also list on Alibaba, but for free. Alibaba provides a venue not just for paying suppliers, but for any supplier who wants to post very basic information, gratis, on the site. It therefore is able to provide buyers with information on over 10 million suppliers. Domestic trade within China among small and medium-sized enterprises, quite apart from exported goods, totals some $530 billion in 2007. The market research firm iResearch estimates that this figure will continue to grow at 15% per year. The same organization estimates that the import and export trade volume of small enterprises in China was $1.7 trillion in 2007, and that it will continue to grow at 20% per year. These numbers are the base upon which Alibaba builds its business. Alibaba has already developed a critical mass of buyers and suppliers on its marketplace, which is the largest in the world. Financials of the listed company are therefore excellent. Year-on-year growth in net income is forecast at over 200% in 2008, building on a similar increase in 2007, though declining to mere double digits in 2009 and 2010. Revenues increased 85% year-on-year in 2006 and 61% in the first half of 2007. Margins remain high, approaching 50% prior to stock-based compensation. Since members are fickle and the turnover rate remains high, the key to this ferocious growth is continued sales of memberships and value-added services to new members. One might wonder why suppliers would pay to be listed on Alibaba if they could post their products for free. The reason relates to Alibaba's services. These include authentication and verification of buyers' credentials, cheaper access to the payment platform Alipay, help in creation of websites or storefronts, and ability to get to the front of the line in terms of response to customers' inquiries. One of the new services, which points to trends to come, is the ability to take out loans from the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China on the basis of one's trade volume on Alibaba. Overall, Alibaba's strategy is to convert non-paying suppliers to paying ones by offering irresistible value-added benefits. Large buyers such as Home Depot, Procter & Gamble, and Walmart typically replace around 20% of the suppliers that sell to them every year. This degree of uncertainty is highly destabilizing to small suppliers. Alibaba has therefore served a useful function for all who need the stability of an ongoing market. At the same time, Alibaba is increasingly used by larger buyers as well, who do initial screening of offerings on the internet. Typical buyers on Alibaba.com include importers, trading companies, the procurement departments of manufacturing companies, and the sourcing departments of retailers. Alipay is a critical part of the Alibaba scheme. The company is not part of the listed Alibaba.com, but Alibaba.com receives fees if transactions are paid for via Alipay. As noted above, Alibaba.com receives 60% to 85% of the consequent fees. Monetizing transactions has been how eBay and other internet companies make money. Alibaba has resisted a model that charges for every transaction, but by channeling payments through Alipay, Alibaba successfully earns a percentage of transactions as well. Whether or not Alibaba will start charging direct transaction fees remains to be seen. The relationship between Alibaba and Alipay makes it clear that as the digital convergence proceeds, the world will also witness a convergence of the financial and IT sectors. China's banking and financial industry is highly regulated. It is also in the midst of regulatory flux as Western banks enter the market and Chinese banks gear up for more challenging competition. As a Chinese company, Jack Ma's Alibaba is in a favorable position to benefit from the open environment of global finance, as well as the protected environment of a Chinese home base. Looking forward, creating Alibaba has required two key talents: an ability to recognize the direction of technology and a determination to force its pace. It required an ability to read future moves on the Weiqi board, to understand how technology is linked to human social organization, and how to leverage small moves into large consequences. As Alibaba moves farther into the global arena, it will be interesting to see how Jack Ma plays his next moves. All eyes will be on the Siam Master. Whatever happens, The scrappy little boy turned master performer is not likely to disappoint his audience. With this, the book is now complete. Thank you for listening.